What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Nerdy Mark channel. I am Sid the Nerdy Mark, and this is my review of Baki the Grappler Season 1. Yes, Baki the Grappler is the anime that I've decided to start 2021 out with. Well, the first anime review of 2021. I've been wanting to do this one for a while. I do plan to actually follow up on my one anime review a month, whether it's a show, a movie, an OVA. I will do my best to review an anime every single month. So, Baki the Grappler I thought was a very good starting point, and you'll see why once I talk about the history. So, some history about Baki the Grappler, or the overall encompassing franchise known as Project Baki. It began in 1991, created by Keisuke Itakogi, and it is about a young fighter named Baki Hanma who wants to be the very best like no one ever was. Sorry, wrong show. And he eventually wants to surpass his father, Yujiro Hanma, known as the strongest being on Earth, and also Ogre. That's also another moniker for him. The manga itself has been going on from 1991 all the way up till present day, and it has spawned 137 volumes and counting, which is absolutely crazy. In media, of course, we do have the OVA Grappler Baki, the Ultimate Fighter. This came out in 1994. Then in 2001, this particular anime we're going to talk about today, Baki the Grappler Seasons 1 and 2, which are aptly titled Baki the Grappler and Baki the Grappler 2, both came out in 2001, like I mentioned. Then after that, it took a hiatus, the series did, and about 17 years later, in 2018, we did get the Netflix exclusive anime series simply titled Baki, which would continue the story from the manga and the 2001 series. And this year, we are going to get a brand new season of Baki titled Baki, Son of Ogre. That should be really cool. So yes, I will be reviewing every single one of these shows and OVAs. So that's pretty much 6 to 7 months of anime content for this channel. And that's why I'm really excited. So let's begin our journey. And let's begin with Baki the Grappler Season 1. So, Baki the Grappler Season 1, or Grappler Baki Season 1, ran from January 9th to June 26th of 2001. And it basically is the beginnings of Baki's journey. Definitely had more of an adventure feel to it, and he definitely meets several people and fights them in order to grow from his experiences until he can beat his father, Yujiro Hanma, who we'll talk about later. Let's kind of get into some of the characters, and then we'll talk about some of the animation and some other notes, final thoughts, and then finally I'll give Season 1 an overall rating. So let's talk about the characters in this show, and let's begin with the character that this show is named after, Baki Hanma. 13 years of age, is an expert martial artist. He is super strong. In the first episode of this anime, he defeats 100 men with weapons single-handedly. Anybody else want to try to take his lunch money? Be my guest. He wants to constantly learn and improve his fighting technique. As a matter of fact, fighting and martial arts is a lot more of a priority than, school and his studies. And he's relatively reasonable, level-headed kid until his father, Yujiro, shows up, which leads me to the next character that I want to talk about, Yujiro Hanma. My favorite character in this entire anime. He is the world's strongest being, also known as Ogre. That's his moniker in the manga. And that's because he possesses something called the demon back. Just look at this thing. This is the demon back. His back has abs. How does that make any sense? Is that possible at all? Nutrition experts, fitness experts, if you're watching this, please let me know if that's possible, because I would love to have abs on my back. Like, he is in tremendous shape. There's not a single ounce of fat on this man's body. He wants Baki to be a merciless combatant just like him. And he actually tasks his mother, Emi Akazawa, to make him more of a merciless person and a lot more ruthless, just like he is. And that's kind of where I feel like the parent dynamic is kind of messed up in Baki's life. Like, his dad is a ruthless killer. He's a freaking mercenary, a high-paid mercenary. Was also in the military, all that good stuff. So, yeah, and then Emi Akazawa, she gets turned on by seeing violence, which is very concerning. Matter of fact, she marries Yujiro after he murders her first husband right in front of her. And like I said, that turned her on, and she wanted to, make Baki. That's all I'll say. For Yujiro and Emi, Baki is more of a project than a son. That's kind of what I see. I guess, Project Baki, there you go, I guess. Maybe that's the reason why it's called Project Baki. I'm not sure. She doesn't really show a lot of compassion towards Baki. Like, she is a lot more partial to Yujiro than she is to Baki because she doesn't want to fail Yujiro. Because Yujiro doesn't really love her, but she wants his love. And the only way she can win his love is by making Baki a little Yujiro Hanma. There's even a scene, there's even an episode and scenes where Baki yearns for the love of his mother, but she doesn't give it to him. And that is such a devastating scene to watch. Like, oh my God, that almost broke me. I almost had a tear in my eye just watching that scene. Like, how can it be like a mother who doesn't even love you and she's only kind of has you around because she wants to earn the love of her husband, because her husband wants their son to be a ruthless fighting machine. How crazy is that? I gotta say though, Yujiro Hanma, if Akuma and John Kreese had a test baby or something, like a test tube baby, that would be Yujiro Hanma. He would usurp Cobra Kai from John Kreese and take it over and basically make everyone murder every son of a gun in the All Valley tournament. By the way, Cobra Kai, also a really good show. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. Those are just some of the characters that I wanted to talk about: Baki, Yujiro, and Emi. But other notable characters include Kaoru Hanayama, who is a crime boss in his 20s. He's kind of Baki's first rival and eventual friend, but they also have like a healthy competition with each other throughout the series. Mitsunagi Tokugawa, who is the head booker of this underlying fighting league that Baki fights in the second half of season 1 and for pretty much all of season 2. Also Doppo Orochi, who also is one of my favorite characters, and that's because he's definitely more of a father figure to Baki than Yujiro is. But he's definitely a good friend of Tokugawa. Now, I did want to mention why I really like Yujiro and why he is my favorite character, despite everything I said. He doesn't show up all that much throughout season 1. Okay, yeah, he's there in season 1, but he's not in like every single scene. Yet his presence is still felt throughout the entire season. And I feel that is the mark of a really good character, whether it's a hero or a villain. That is powerful. That's it for some of the characters, because there are more, but I would suggest you just watch the show to find out who they are, because we'll be here forever listing them off. But with that, I want to go into some of the animation and other notes that I took, and then, go from there. So let's talk about the animation in this show. Now, talking about the animation in Baki the Grappler Season 1, I would say it's pretty fluid for majority of the season. You can definitely tell that it is an older anime, that it was made a while back, and the animation quality definitely shows it, but it still holds up to this day. Like, you can still watch it and be like, oh, this is still really good. There are times here and there where the animation kind of lags, but it's really not that big of a deal, and it's not super distracting. Towards the latter half of the show, during like the tournament, they add a little bit more polish to the characters. In the beginning, when he's like in the forest or out in the streets, you see someone like Baki. There's a little bit of raggedness, a little bit of roughness to the drawing of Baki. But when he's in the tournament, and it may be because there's like a whole spotlight during all the underground matches, but there's just like this polished look that every single character has when they're fighting, even when they're outside of the ring. it has this kind of polish to it, which I actually appreciated. That was pretty cool. And all the fight scenes, speaking of which, since this is a martial arts heavy anime, were treated very well. It kept the tension, and throughout each fight, whether it was against 100 guys in the the first episode, the Yasha Ape, still towards the beginning of season 1, or his fights in the underground tournament, and even when he has a bit of a fight with Yujiro, the tension throughout the fight scenes is still there. I was in the edge of my seat just wondering how Baki was going to get out of this, or would he even survive in the case of Yujiro Hanma, because, he's a killer. I will say this was kind of an anime that why I really liked it. It kind of hit home for me since, as you all know, I do primarily cover pro wrestling on this channel. A lot of hardcore wrestling and MMA fans will really enjoy this anime since there are a lot of references to New Japan, WWE, and UFC, as well as a lot of different fighting styles, whether it be a pro wrestling styles. Because in that tournament, you see a lot of pro wrestlers get involved, which is pretty cool. You see a lot of strong style, Japanese strong style. Thatch can. Did I just say Thatch can? I meant catch can. I'm so sorry. Judo, kung fu, karate, all kinds of different martial arts. It's just they did a great job of encompassing the many different combat styles that are there throughout. They tried to pack in as many combat styles as possible. A lot of references to New Japan, particularly the Tokyo Dome, which is where the underground tournament happens. And for those who don't know, Tokyo Dome also is where Wrestle Kingdom is held every single year by New Japan Pro Wrestling. That is basically New Japan's answer to WrestleMania over here in America. There are a few emotional scenes throughout. Now, the fight scenes, like I said, were really great. The emotional scenes were handled really well, too. There was a really good scene after the Yasha Ape fight, because remember, Baki is a lot more compassionate than Yujiro, so he doesn't really kill the Yasha Ape. Yujiro, however, is a dick, and he kills him and presents the head of the Yasha Ape to Baki, which, great father, man. Love you, Dad. But, it was just really cool to see a very touching moment with the Yasha Ape and Baki after the fight. Even when Yujiro kills Emi, yes, he does kill Emi, that scene was handled really interestingly as well. It wasn't handled in a very cheesy way. It was handled, I just like the way they handled it. If there's any nitpick I have, it would be in the dub. The voice acting is very good for the most part. There are just some times where it feels artificial. Like Baki, I understand he's a kid, but there are times when the voice actor is trying to sound too much like a kid, and it really does come off as artificial. That's really the only nitpick I have, but that's really pretty much all I got to say about animation and some other notes that I wanted to mention. But with that, I want to get into my final thoughts. So overall, I think season 1 of Baki the Grappler was a really good show. It kept me engaged, kept me wanting to see the next episode. I think I binged all of the season 1 in a week at the very most. I think if you're especially into martial arts, pro wrestling, or any other combat sports, you will enjoy this anime too, because like I mentioned, they tried to pack in as many fighting styles as possible, from pro wrestling to boxing to martial arts. A lot of different styles of fighting are in here, and it's just really interesting to see. And one more thing I did forget to mention is, with every fighter in the tournament, they tried to include some sort of backstory so that you actually care, which I thought was also a very good touch. Even with everyone that Baki fights, it's just a really good good touch that they have for his opponents. So that was pretty cool. So you can kind of understand where they come from, so it doesn't just feel like Baki is the one good person and everyone else is a douchebag, right? As far as the soundtrack, man, the soundtrack on season 1 at least, fantastic. The opener to season 1 was really good, and honestly, it just motivates me to get up off my ass and work out. I even seeing Baki work out, he and Yujiro both don't really do a lot of weight training. They really just do a lot more calisthenics. And because of which, I've actually been inspired to do a lot more calisthenic workout than weight training workouts. So like literally a lot of the workouts are just body weight exercises. I hope you guys can see some sort of results. I've seen a lot of people say that I've lost weight, not on YouTube, but like outside. A lot of people said, "Oh, Sid, you lost weight." So I hope you guys can tell that I've lost weight. This is a picture of what I used to look like. This was like me at my heaviest, I feel. So if you can see any difference, please let me know. But as far as a rating for season 1, I'm gonna give it 2 thumbs up. So that pretty much concludes my review of Baki the Grappler Season 1. Look out for Baki the Grappler 2 review coming out next month. But let me know if you've seen this anime. What did you guys think about it? Leave all your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Also, let me know what other anime you would like me to cover. I will do my best to cover it this year after Baki the Grappler and Baki and everything else is done. Literally, after Project Baki is done, I'm pretty much free to take up requests, but go ahead and leave them now and I will, take them into consideration. But with that being said, thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for hitting that bell if you haven't done so. Make sure you do so you are notified every single time I post and upload on this channel. Don't forget to follow me on social media. Links are in the description. But with that, this is Sid signing off. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.